Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. We've got an absolute powerhouse with us, Kurt Byers from New Western Acquisitions. They've got 35 offices around the country, and as far as I checked, are the biggest wholesaler there is.
Yep.
Kurt, how long have you been with New Western Acquisitions, and could you give us an overview of what your position is?
Yeah, so I've been with New Western for about 2 years. I'm the head of business development, so I do a lot of partnerships, trainings for the agents, PR, doing some policy work on the Hill. So a little bit of everything. It's kind of if there's something need to be done with an outside company or to help our agents with something not internal, I typically try and handle it. So
that's fascinating. I didn't know you were working on policy work on the Hill. Would you be open to talking about some of that's going on?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're kind of in the learn as much as we can stage. There's a few things going on that we just kind of want to be able to be knowledgeable about. And so we're actually flying up to DC in a couple of weeks to kind of just learn more about it. So we just want to be at the forefront of it instead of, reacting, because we have, 8 to 10 lawyers on staff and they're always at the front of it, but we want to be able to, be influential. So.
Well, it's really fascinating. I was talking with the other Kurt at New Western, I believe one of the owners, and he was saying that the industry is maturing. Which is kind of a natural thing that industries do. But policy-wise, I think we've all heard like, oh, there's a state here, there's a city here that's going to require a wholesaler to have a license. And all of your agents have licenses as far as I know. So it's exciting to hear you guys taking the lead on that. And of course, for your own business, but it affects the rest of us too, which is really great. Place I wanted to go there was, he said the industry was maturing in the sense that everybody used to do their own marketing. And now that there's kind of what I gathered from it was there's people who will just focus on PPC or just focus on direct mail. And those are starting to standardize and be service providers that are maturing. So you have a lot of options and vendors. Have you seen the industry continue to grow overall? I'm asking because I heard somebody say there was less wholesalers the last few years, or maybe a few kind of left the market. Do you have any data or pulse on that?
I think there are probably less wholesalers in the sense that with the regulations coming around, people have maybe decided, it was a little difficult at first. I'm going to do something else. But I think the ones that are kind of staying and getting ahead of it are going to be the ones that really come out on top. I mean, we're working with thousands of wholesalers every year. So we really want to be able to be a support system for them to be able to get deals done. So as far as it maturing, I mean, there's so many different ways to find deals now, but it's still hard to find a good deal. You can contract an assignment, but you can't. To contract a property is much harder. And it's really good to find properties that are worth wholesaling. But I mean, as far as maturing, there are so many different avenues, and it's hard to do each one well, which is why a lot of the service providers are kind of coming in handy, is because they've kind of figured out their niche. And the more or less wholesalers, I mean, probably less, but I think there's always going to be new people entering. There's always going to be new investors wanting to flip a house. So the wholesalers, getting in living rooms are always going to be needed. So I think that's just, continue to be steady, but it'll probably change a little bit.
Got it.
Yeah.
So when you said it's easy to contract an assignment, hard to contract a house, you mean like the end buyer, cash buyers can buy houses from wholesalers, but it's hard for the wholesaler to actually find that deal in the first place, what you're saying.
Yeah, a little bit of that. And also, it's more like, I guess, it's easy to contract and get an assignment at a really high price. It's very hard to contract a deal to where it's going to move to your end buyer, but getting the end buyer is very difficult. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can try and find them, but end buyers are tough. That's,
It's actually one of your strong suits.
Yeah.
Now, I heard you say that you worked with thousands of wholesalers in the past. Could you explain how you work with those wholesalers, typically to find a buyer or to be the buyer, as far as I understand, right?
Yeah. So wholesalers work with us because we're really a marketplace. So we'll put the property under contract. And so much of that is to standardize the customer experience for our investors. And so we have 200,000 plus investors across our markets. And they're, pre-qualified. They're either going to pay cash or hard money. But we're going out there and finding them. We have, 600 plus agents actively searching for properties from wholesalers, agents, direct to seller, but we have, how many ever agents that their sole job is to find investors and sell them the properties they're looking for. And so if you can kind of work with us to where we're basically automating your disposition process, you don't even have to worry about finding the buyer, taking it to title, clear title. We handle all of that for you. And so if you're good at acquiring properties, just go acquire properties, sell them to us. And that's, we'll find the end buyer and lock it up, and, we'll double close it. So,
yes. I remember Kurt on the last call we were on, he spoke about typically wholesalers will be finding their own buyers. They'll stumble upon one that you guys will do for them. You'll be the buyer, and they will drop their jaw at how much you sold it for.
Yeah.
They'll make just as much, maybe if not more, and you guys will make money on that deal. And then they'll just continue giving you deals. So if somebody's listening to this, what's the best way for them to present a deal to you? And at what stage would that deal need to be at?
Yeah, so there's two schools of thought here. One is you send it to everyone and hope they buy the property. There's another one where the best wholesalers work with us in a fashion of they've talked to the seller, they know where they might need to be, and then they reach out to us and ask, where do you need to buy it? Because we have such a pulse on the markets down to the south half of this neighborhood will go for this, but the top half won't. And so to have that in-market data from us directly to let you know where the buyer is going to be and where we can be, you can go back and negotiate with the seller and know it's going to be sold versus, well, I might lock it up high and hope to, retrade it down later. But if you can just do that up front, seller's happy, we're happy, wholesalers making good money. So that's typically the way wholesalers work best with us, is kind of using us as the boots on the ground data. And
they can just they can reach out to you guys on your website, and somebody will work with them to tell them that information.
Yeah, so you can go individual. I mean, if you're doing a couple deals here and there, reaching out on the website will get you connected with the best people. But we actually have an entire team dedicated to managing larger wholesalers to help them scale across markets, to help them do better deals in each market they're in. So we'll connect them with our wholesale account manager, Jimmy Quigg. He's amazing. He really helps put the oversight and structure into a partnership to make sure every agent you're dealing with is the best in that market. You have all the support you need. We can get you data that no one else gets access to. And so whether we go the wholesaler route, we're actually also looking to acquire wholesalers that are looking for additional support. And so we'll do an M&A with them, and then help scale their business to as many markets as they're looking to be in. So little option for everyone.
Yeah. When I was first starting doing my first deal in 2017, there was a turnkey rental property provider that would run a meetup in Indianapolis at the time. I'm not sure if they're still around, but they would hand out a paper and they would say, in this zip code, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and this square foot, we'll buy it all in for this price. And it was a spreadsheet, and I could just walk through all the options for property sizes, 2 beds, 2 baths, or 3-2. And that gave me so much confidence negotiating with the seller. Even though I was looking to build my rental portfolio. But I'll just say, whether you're building a portfolio, whether you're trying to wholesale exit strategy, either way, it's just nice to know a framework to see exactly how you need to be negotiating with the seller. And that was like a huge tool for me. So I'm glad you guys are able to provide that resource.
Yeah.
I'm sure my spreadsheet is out of date now. But then once you get a few under your belt, you don't need it necessarily as much. But that's a super helpful tool for somebody brand new, and it was for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really advantageous to go in knowing, as you said, because if you try and lock it up just to lock it up, I mean, it's just a bad experience.
It's bad.
You're not going to find a buyer, but every situation's different. It might be a 4-bed, 3-bath. It might be someone who's looking to pad split. It might be someone who's looking to, a short-term rental, but they want to add the equity up front. So you really have to know the different buyers. And I mean, that's our agent's job, is to know exactly what they're looking for. And then we just kind of give the data to wholesalers to go find it.
Got it. All right. Is there any pitfalls we could talk about when analyzing a deal? I know you can provide that data. Is there any, and one thing you said is just locking it up too high, right? So that would be a pitfall. It's just locking it up because you want to get the experience, but it's not a low enough price and it ends up falling through. It's a bad feeling that you couldn't commit to your promise to that person to buy their property, at the very least.
I'd say one thing that can get people in trouble is really they try to expand their comps too much. And so when they go to sell to a serious investor who will be able to pull the comps and kind of call you out on it, it's not a good look, because you're going to sit there and be like, well, this one sold for, 470. It's like, well, that's 3 miles away. It's across the railroad tracks and there's an extra bedroom. And this one, there's no room to add it. And you just kind of hope that someone's going to say yes. But if you go in confident, knowing the comps are right, knowing that the value you're providing to that investor is worth your assignment fee, then it just makes a big difference, because it's, there's a lot of savvy investors out there and they're going to know the comps aren't lining up.
Let's talk about how the greater market affects our industry of buying off-market deals. So I've been in the industry for 8 years. I've noticed that when COVID happened, I was like really nervous. I was like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. It seemed like the industry really thrived during that point. And then when the interest rates went up a few years ago, I was also nervous. I was like, oh, what's going to happen? But it seemed like maybe like hedge funds stopped buying as aggressively high, but the source of deals existed and is pretty constant. And it seemed to me that no matter what is happening with interest rates or in the economy, things happen in people's lives where they really appreciate speed and convenience over getting a good price. And so just finding the deals, it doesn't really seem to be affected by external market factors as far as what I've seen. Would you agree? Because you've been in business for, how long is it? Is it almost 20 years now?
Yeah, since 2008.
Amazing. And yeah, so and what's your deal volume that you're even looking at this point, or doing at this point?
I mean, close to 800 to 1,000 homes a month.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So that's the kind of data we're talking about. So from your perspective, you would agree with the statement that I made?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think wholesalers can get a bad rap from a few bad apples, but at the end of the day, the majority of the people we're helping are the people that need out of a distressed situation. And there's, unfortunately, for a lot of people, there are a lot of distressed situations that aren't really safe from other factors that happen in housing. Inventory, as far as it goes, is going to, always kind of ebb and flow, but there's going to be people who need homes that require $150,000 of work. There's going to be people who need to move in 5 days. It's just, there's always going to be situations where our side of the industry can go in and help those homeowners. And if you frame it that way and it's valuable, I think it's a really good thing for our, housing market and the affordability crisis overall. It's just a matter of how wholesalers kind of carry that forward. But I think the inventory is there. I mean, we see it. We're doing very well, thankfully. But I mean, you got to find it. But there's always, unfortunately, going to be situations where they need someone like us.
Got it. What's something about New Western Acquisitions that people need to understand, and maybe they don't? Or when you meet somebody, you're telling them a fact that they didn't know or had a misconception?
It's a good question. Sometimes people they think we are wholesalers. We're all licensed. We take everything to title. It's just a matter of, our process is really boiled down to the fact that we're a marketplace for these investors. We were the second largest private home buyer in the country last year, just behind Open Door.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Sometimes people get caught up on one single agent, and they're like, they don't understand that agent was actually let go 2 years ago, and that we've sold 20,000 homes since they've worked with us. And so it's not always every agent is going to be the best experience, but our agents, we're really dialing it in. I don't think they always realize the scale at which we operate. But I'd say that we're not wholesalers, but we absolutely enjoy working with wholesalers.
Got it. So to be clear on, that's actually a great misconception, right? I myself thought that you were a wholesaler. I introduced you that way.
Oh, it's all good. It happens so often that it's fine.
So but you are ended up selling it to like an end cash buyer, right? But you're maybe not taking an assignment. Is that right? Or
yeah. So we'll
clarify. Yeah.
So like, if I was to walk you through from start to finish, a wholesaler brings us property. They'll bring us that property for whatever they have it at, and they'll make an assignment of what they have it at and what we can pay. And then we'll take, because we do so much volume, we're really just trying to get the transactions. And so we'll take that kind of small fee in the middle, and then the end buyer will buy it from us with hard money or cash.
Okay.
And they have to be vetted. So you have to have proof of funds. You have to have all that. So it's It's a very serious buyer's list.
Are you talking about like the 3% agent fee, or are you talking about you have a different fee? It's just different from what the wholesaler is bringing it to you for.
It's really that different. So another thing about us being licensed is we're not listing homes, but if we go and find a home on the MLS, we're not going to, or typically off market, we're not going to take that buyer agent commission just so we can help the seller earn a little more, or that agent can earn a little extra commission. So we don't work off percentages. We just work off that kind of middle. So we're similar to wholesalers in that it's like an assignment fee, but we're doing the work of taking it to title, double closing, handling both transactions, handling the buyer experience, all that.
Oh, awesome. That's great. And then the double closing is, then you wouldn't be able to see how much the wholesaler is making. It would be two transactions. The end buyer wouldn't necessarily know what the original wholesaler locked it up for.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Are there any other advantages to the way that you guys operate in that way?
A lot of it is really about the customer experience for our investors. I mean, it takes a lot more work to do it the way we do it. Regulations in every state, compliance in every state, MLS access, having to pay all those fees for the agents to do different things. But it really comes down to every investor, when they come to us, they know it's a free and clear title, and our closing process is the same every time.
Got it.
And so, you're not dealing with a lot of kind of, as you'd say, like pitfalls. Like, we're doing it how we know it's going to work, over and over and over again. So we pay a lot more to do it, and it causes a lot of headaches, but it's just been worth it in the end to scale.
Awesome. I imagine a lot of your buyers are repeat buyers as well.
Yeah.
And I could imagine that they would really appreciate the confidence in a deal getting done because of the things that you said.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no time spent in finding deals or money. We do it all for you. So a buyer can come in and do, if they want, 10 flips a month, or they can do 2 a year. We're still there with the inventory for them to purchase whenever they're ready. And so, whether you're first getting started, you can lean on our agents to kind of find you the right property in the right area. Or if you're, doing 100 deals a year and you just want access to deals without any time or money, we just, funnel you deals, and you buy and close and repeat.
Where do most of the agents come from that you bring in internally to your company? I was just wondering, because I know you said you did M&A with wholesalers that have an existing business and they want more support scaling. So I was just wondering, do you have people that are trying to go out on wholesaling and just decide to be an agent for you guys?
Yeah, that's very common. I mean, I think we see wholesalers that maybe see how much support and fun we have. Like, we're doing our annual event in Las Vegas at the Bellagio. There's just a lot of perks of being a part of a company like us that you wouldn't get as maybe like a singular wholesaler in a market. It's kind of a built-in support system, 200 corporate employees backing you. But there's also, realtors that get their license and they've been in it for a couple of years and realize that maybe investment real estate would be more fun or something they gravitate towards. So we get a lot of realtors, and then we get a lot of kind of industry people that, have to get their license to work with us. So it's a wholesaler who gets their license to join us. But it's a lot of those two. And then it's really just, sometimes we get people out of college that got a business degree or a marketing degree, and they're like, let's try investment real estate. And then they end up selling, 30 homes a year, because our average is 19 homes per agent. And the typical like retail real estate agent's like 2 or 3.
Right.
So
thanks
we do
for
a lot
raising
of
the
volume.
average and inspiring us, and also delivering good service to both wholesalers and the cash buyer investors in our industry.
Definitely.
I got to ask about the Horned Frogs. Is that where you got into Strongman Competitions?
No, so it's funny. I actually went to TCU and majored in speech language pathology. So I was working with kids
saw
with
one when
special
I was
needs.
a kid.
Yeah. Very common, much more common than people think. I was working with kids with special needs, and then here I am.
I didn't have
10 years
special
later.
needs, just the speech.
No, I wasn't. Not all do. It's just, but yeah, it's so I didn't actually get into it there, but I got into it in St. Louis actually. So it was something I was always interested in, just from doing track and field, and then someone kind of showed me the sport, and I just took it up, and it's been fun since. So
I might have missed that, but I actually grew up in St. Louis along with Matt.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
we went to high school together.
Nice. Yeah, I love St. Louis. My wife and I lived there 2019 to 2021. So Blues won there, Gloria. Anytime I hear that song, it's just that over and over again is all I think about is when the Blues won. So
yep. And then I know you said you've been with New Western for about 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is that what brought you back to Texas?
It is, yeah. My wife and I were in Tampa and ended up moving for this role. And we both went to TCU. That's where we met. And so we always kind of wanted to be back in DFW, and just, this role has been great. So I just,
What drew you to it? How'd you find out about it?
So one of my best friends was in his wedding. He was in mine. He's the VP of Business Intelligence at New Western.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was chatting with him about the fact that eventually I wanted to move back to DFW. And at the time, the role was partnership manager. And so he sent it to me, and he was like, "I think it'd be a great fit. You can pick up on the real estate aspect." Because I've done, worked for NBC Sports with Golf Channel. I've done medical school. I've done Anheuser-Busch. I've done biology and chemistry sales. So it's really, I've switched industries so much that I kind of have that just knack of picking up what I'm like really invested in. And I've learned more about investment real estate than I ever would have thought, but it's also been the job I'm most interested in because there's so much to learn, so many sectors, so many different ways to kind of add value to the industry. And so I've absolutely loved it. But yeah, it's all thanks to Seth.
You seem like a curious person, which is such a great trait. They're lucky to have you.
Yeah. No, I mean, I always like to learn.
Yeah.
Just about everything. So.
Well, as we wrap up, I'm curious, are there any particular geographies that you'd like to partner with wholesalers on for the M&A in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I think we like the aspect of multi-market. In the non-acquisition program, we've taken someone from one market to 30. And so they're doing deals in every market and just dispoing to us. But for the M&A side, I don't know if there's, it's really market driven. I think it's potential of the wholesaler. Do they want to come in and scale? Do they want to work with New Western and really grow their business across different markets? And if that's 2 markets and, Indy and Chicago, and you want to blow it up and be, in 2 markets, but now you do 100 deals a month, that's great. If you want to just be in LA and then Phoenix and then OKC and then Atlanta, we're good with that too. So it's really just more a matter of potential than it is geography.
Got it. Any particular size of wholesaling operation that would be a good fit for that?
Yeah, we're looking for above $2 million in annual, and then I don't know if there's a set deals. Probably 10 a month would probably be my guess. I'd have to do the napkin math on what the average fee would be for till $2 million, but we'd like there to be some runway, some potential there to really grow and scale. Because if you're just doing like 2 or 3 a month and you're a single operation, we can absolutely help you get to $2 million a year. It's just we want to acquire people already there so we can get them to $5-10 million a year and then continue that program as each company scales up.
Got it. Well, I have another question that's unrelated to that, but just kind of struck me. I mean, you've had multiple sales roles. You said you were in like a medical type industry before. So I wanted to hear about like a mindset. Are there any mindsets that you felt like have really helped you become a great business development person or salesperson?
I think it's the mindset of understanding the language that someone needs to hear your value prop in. Because if you go in and you try to sell to a PhD when you know nothing about what the language they need to hear is, it's very similar to trying to talk to a luxury real estate agent who's trying to monetize a lead of, a really ugly house, and you go in and you talk wholesaler lingo and they never talk that. You have to be able to communicate with sellers or PhDs or bar owners or golf club owners. Like, what is the value prop they need and how can I present it in a language they're ready to hear? Because if you are just selling super hard your way, they're just going to ignore you. You need to really be knowledgeable on how they like to transact. And that's something I guess I've always been able to kind of do, is kind of acquire the language and paint a story of which they need to hear based on what solves their problem.
And the best way to acquire the language is to probably spend a lot of time listening.
A lot of time listening, a lot of time learning, asking a lot of questions, being curious as to why things are the way they are. Like I might bring Kurt an idea and he's like, tried it before. And then it's like, well, what if we do it this way? And then you just learn as to why things will or won't work. So like, yeah, not every idea is good, but the more you learn, the more you can kind of match your value prop to what another company needs. And then you just kind of start the partnership or get more deals done that way.
Yeah. Kurt, the other Kurt, sounds like a great leader.
He is, yeah. Him and Stuart are great.
I've gotten into trouble early in my career where somebody would join the team 3 years into the business that I created, and I'd say, oh, we tried that before, it won't work. But it works a lot better if you could say like, oh, we have tried that before. Maybe it's different now, but here's why it didn't work back then. Well, what do you want to do? Do you still want to try it now that you know that? That's kind of what I gathered with how he was approaching that situation, which can be tough.
Well, and some of that is you have to be able to have a relationship with the leader to ask why didn't it work? Because if you're just like, okay, and then you don't continue the conversation, because I like to be creative. I like to have a lot of ideas. And if he goes and says, it hasn't worked, and I'm like, well, have you tried this? And if I get through like 4 or 5s, have you tried this? I'm probably, okay, let's kill that idea.
Yeah.
But there's certain like partnerships we've done to where it hadn't worked in the past, but I'm like, well, I was actually thinking of it from this angle. And then it's like, oh, actually, yeah, that might work. Go ahead and explore it. Let me know how the conversation goes. And so he's just given me a lot of leeway to explore opportunities. And if it doesn't work, then it's a new industry connection. If it does work, then maybe we're making an extra $200,000 a month.
Yeah. And I could tell you're also a great leader because you didn't just accept we've already tried that. You asked 3 or 4 more questions afterwards to get your own clarification and understanding, which is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, you got to. It's because, if you're going to be curious, you're going to hear no. But you're also going to learn a lot and start to figure out which ways the yeses will go, because then, the opportunities are endless if you're creative enough to find them. So.
Yep. So don't be afraid to hear no, everybody. And if you guys are interested in the M&A, or if you're interested in working with New Western Acquisitions for a deal that you have, newwesternacquisitions.com is a place you could go and get connected with an agent in your local market, from what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you find any similarities in your work and Strongman stuff?
Yeah, I knew Matt was going to set that up. But I would say a weird similarity is like, you can't take yourself too seriously, but like I enjoy going out in a random field wearing a kilt and throwing heavy things. But like I truly enjoy it and I don't really care what people think about it. If I really like real estate investing or I'm really dedicated to doing something, it just gives you like that little bit of purpose. Like it's the reason I got back into the gym. It's the reason it's fun to continue to lift even as I get into my 30s. It's just another way to add something to your life that isn't, just a TV show or something, to where I've had to learn, 9 different ways to throw those events. So I'm always learning something new. I'm always learning from people better than me, new techniques. If you're only ever doing fix and flip and you can go and find someone who's really good at burr and now you have 10 rental properties, or you just break a personal record or win a competition because you learned from someone else, because you cared enough about something to not care what other people think. To me, that's probably the biggest similarity.
What's the history of the Strongman outfit?
So it started in Scotland. It was a way the theory is it was a way to train for battle without showing people you were training for battle. And so it was heavy objects, it was throwing things. And so when people would inquire about it, it was, we're just, a competition among friends who can throw things the farthest. And so it's just always evolved, but the kilt has always stayed the same. And I wear a purple kilt because of TCU. But, it can be silly. You're throwing things in a field and, but if you like it, go for it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kurt.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.